Yes, hello and welcome to episode 331 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. Before we start, a huge thank you to our TSP Patreon community because we couldn't make the show each week without your loyal support. And this week's new additions include Martin Borman, who has joined the TSP supporter tier through the YouTube membership. Dave Gillespie joined the TSP supporter tier for a year, and Dave Benham has joined our Francis Benali tier. So thank you all for your support. Coming up this week on the podcast, football is back and we're all very excited. It's the one we've been looking forward to, the first South Coast derby in the league in getting on for 13 years. The wait is almost over and part 2 of our preview is coming right up. My name is Martin Starke, and joining me this week, Steve Grant, who is the owner of SaintsWeb, and Martin Sanders is presenter and podcaster, otherwise known as Football Martin. So let's get into the football, shall we? On Sunday at midday, we're back at St Mary's for the biggie, Saints versus Pompey, the first meeting between the sides since 2019. You've got to go back to 2012 for the last time we met in the league. To help us preview the game and crossing the divide for one night only, Andy is joining us from the PO Forecast podcast. Andy, welcome along. Great to have you with us this evening. Thanks for coming on. How was your transfer window first? Let's start with that.
Hi guys, yeah, thanks for having me. I think not sure who's made the bigger mistake.
It's weird, isn't it? It just feels a bit weird, but I think we'll just go with it.
Yeah,
there's no segregation here, though.
Sorry,
no segregation here. It's
no segregation. Yeah, thank you for not putting me on my own screen. I appreciate that. Yeah, transfer window, I'd have to say, is in hindsight pretty strong. I think Connor Chaplin coming in on deadline day or deadline evening on loan from Ipswich was kind of the cherry on top, but I think 2 weeks out from the end of the window, I probably would have said that I was a little bit concerned about the squad in comparison to the squad that ended last year. But yeah, I think if you look at the players who have gone out, they probably are more League One level, to take your sort of emotion completely out of it and the fact that we like the players, but they probably were more League One level. And then the players that have come in thus far have looked, potentially, hopefully, a step up from that. So, yeah, Connor Chaplin, I know that you guys are a big fan of from when he visited you with Ipswich. Yeah, I'm imagining he's going to get a fairly good reception, whether he starts or he's on the bench. But bringing in John Swift from West Brom has thus far looked like a pretty good coup, pretty good signing. Josh Knight coming in, who was previously at Peterborough, I think, and then went over to Germany to play, who he stood out in that Peterborough side in League One and, in my opinion, is a championship player. We'll see this season whether I'm proved right or not. And Adrian Segicic has come in from Sydney. So you guys have basically got most of Australia and most of South Africa cheering against you because we do like players from the Southern Hemisphere coming in. And, Segicic has looked really, really dangerous thus far this season. So far, would have snapped your hand off for where we are in the league after the first few games. And yeah, I think you'd have to say that the window's been pretty good, but I reserve the right to have a complete meltdown if we're 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 down at half-time at St Mary's next week.
It has been a decent enough start to the season. I don't know what your expectations were for the year following, last year and securing your place in the league early enough, wasn't it, I guess? But you must be really happy with how it's gone.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as you say, last year, the goal was consolidate, survive, and the earlier we do it, the better. And actually, after a bit of a stressful season, particularly the first half, we managed that with time to spare almost at the end of the season. And I think it was the day we sealed it, I think, was the 5-3, 5-2 win away against Norwich, which was just a lovely away day. And this season, I mean, obviously the home defeat against Norwich aside, getting a point away against West Brom when, last season we lost 5-1 at Hawthorns. So to get a point there, albeit slightly jammily, and to get 3 points.
The refereeing in that game was pretty wild, wasn't it?
I mean, this is one of those where you say it evens out over the season, don't you? Yeah.
Well, hopefully next week that'll be fine.
No. We're on a good streak with referees. We need to have the first half of the season, a bit of consistency for us, But yeah, I wouldn't say I agreed with every refereeing decision that the referee made in that game for sure. But there have been plenty of times in the last few years where it's gone against us on the other side of the same coin as it would have been for you. So you take it when it goes your way, and then you have an angry rant when it doesn't. But at the end of the day, it does tend to even out. It's just when you get those decisions and in which games, if we get an absolute stinker of a decision in the 94th minute that gives you the win next week, we won't particularly feel like it's evened out just because of the circumstances when those things have happened. But it's been a good start to the season. And, obviously we've had T-shirts printed and such like from being, in a good position in the league, as I know Southampton considered a few years ago when you were top of the Premier League for a couple of hours. So, we're going down the same route.
Oh, we've still got those kicking around somewhere.
Sure.
It seems like you've got a decent manager in as well. We were talking a little bit about this last week. It's someone that you want to try and keep hold of as long as you can. But it's one of those, I guess, the more successful he is, the more chance there is that he might go on to bigger things. But at the moment, you've got what seems like a decent young manager.
Yeah, 100%. I think he comes across very well as well. He's honest and to the point, and you don't really feel like you're being... I don't know if you swear on the podcast or not. I don't know, but you don't really feel like you're being... Sorry?
Carry on.
Okay, we don't feel like we're being bullshitted in interviews, basically. He says it as it is, but he also doesn't say anything to the interviewer that he wouldn't say to the players. So it's a fairly honest appraisal. But, he's coming. We're his first managing gig. He got all of his badges at Oxford United, and I think a lot of Oxford fans were hoping he would succeed Carl Robinson, who they sacked fairly soon after Messino came to us. But so far he hasn't really had a failure, has he? First attempt with the full season in League One, won the league. First season in the Championship, the goal is to attain survival, achieved it. This season, hopefully kicking on. But you're always a little bit concerned. There's that type of job, especially sort of in the latter part of the League One winning season, or, thankfully last season we started poorly, so maybe he was a little bit less desirable. But there's a few of those, top half of the Championship clubs that in terms of budget would be a step up for him, and you're just sort of hoping he doesn't get his head turned, which he hasn't thus far. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up having the same trajectory as Kieran McKenna did as of a year ago, where he ends up with a sort of bottom half Premier League team at some point, or get shipped in to try and save a club in relegation trouble, hopefully in a few years' time. But I'm hoping he sees us as a long-term project and sticks it out, but he comes across well. He's a friendly bloke. Obviously, the fans absolutely love him. We've had some sort of hits and misses recently in terms of the fan relationship with managers. It was always a bit frayed with Kenny Jackett. The Cowleys were very much the other way. So we had Danny and Nicky Cowley. The fan base, loved them as human beings, but the results just unfortunately didn't back it up. And now we seem to have hit some sort of middle ground where he's personable, friendly, but we are also getting results. And it doesn't look like his friendliness is actually annoying the players, which it did under the Cowleys a little bit. They looked actively aggravated by how smiley and isn't it a beautiful day kind of vibe you got from Danny Cowley. So, we're happily sitting somewhere in the middle now.
We'll talk about team lineup and formations and stuff with you in just a moment, Andy. Steve, what have you made of their window? Obviously, Connor Chaplin is the one that we were talking about before we came on air, but they've had a decent enough window and made an all right start to the season. So it's could be an interesting game on Sunday.
Ultimately, when you're in that sort of rump of sort of mid-table sides in the Championship, if you've got to the end of that August window and you've kept the headline players in the building, then you're always happy. Like I saw Josh Murphy was linked with Leicester and possibly Birmingham, was it?
West Brom.
West Brom, sorry, and is still there. Colby Bishop weirdly hasn't been linked with anybody, which I find fascinating given his goal record at 3 levels in the last 4 or 5 years. For them to have kept those two and added Chaplin, I'm baffled why Ipswich have let him go, because he played semi-regularly last season, albeit in a god-awful side. And you would have thought that he was kind of the sort of player that could come on and turn the game for them. But obviously Kieran McKenna sees things otherwise, and obviously that's to Pompey's gain. I'd be surprised if he's thrown straight into the starting 11 next week. But I guess you never know. It's not like fitness is an issue for him. It's not like he's been sort of out of the game for 6 months and he's needs time to get up to speed. He's been playing for Ipswich, so it's Yeah, that's an annoyingly good signing, I think, and one which basically you're probably now looking at the attacking side of your side now and kind of not worrying too much about where the goals are coming from. Whereas last season, I think you're always capable of shipping 5 or 6 away from home. Like West Brom game you mentioned, Stoke. Stoke was a particularly brilliant one, obviously, because it was live on telly, so we all got to watch it. But I mean, you looked at that Stoke one because I think you'd possibly won one game up until that point, and you're thinking, not sure they're going to be any better than we've been the level above. And that was kind of our thing to hold on to at that point, was that as bad as we've started this season, Pompey somehow looked worse. But then, of course, you turned it round ultimately based on your home form, which I guess nobody would have been particularly surprised that it was your home form that was the kind of cornerstone to last season. But actually, this season you kind of obviously started with the win away at Oxford, which kind of continued where you kind of finished the back end of last season. Obviously, that Norwich win you mentioned. So
it's that momentum again, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think having now finally worked out how to win away from home, that suddenly adds a different complexion to Sunday's possibilities. I think, because I think had we basically been playing last season's Pompey team, I think we go into this game and you just think, well, nine times out of 10, this set of players will beat that set of players, regardless of all the sort of hoo-ha that surrounds the derby. And I mean, the cliches of form goes out the window. It doesn't really necessarily hold that well, I don't think. But now all of a sudden they've strengthened in key areas. Defence looks a lot more solid than it did last season, which I guess it was a relatively low bar at times, but yeah, I mean you're not shipping goals left, right, and centre, not gifting goals to the opposition, and you've got 3 or 4 players at the other end of the pitch that can do serious damage. So yeah, I mean I think that's kind of where the paranoia will lie from our fan base, from anybody who's been paying attention. I think a lot of people will understandably just say, "Well, I've not been watching them. I don't give a shit. I see the results, but nothing more." But it's good. I mean, I would say it's probably a clash of styles on Sunday, but the gung ho nature of what the atmosphere is going to be like, maybe that changes the outlook of it a little bit.
It's an interesting one, Martin, because obviously we've had a few new players come in. We've had the international break. I mean, it's a hell of a match to make your debut. But what are you expecting from Will Still? Do you think he will go with his preferred formation of 4 at the back? And if he does that, then who's going to drop out, do you think? And can you see some of the new players coming in on Sunday?
Yeah, it's got some big decisions to make. I just think the international break just come at a terrible time. It always happens, doesn't it? You get the window closed, you bring a load of players in, the window shuts, then they will go off an international break and you can't bed anyone in. So he won't get the players back to the back end of this coming week. So difficult preparation, but he gets the extra day with the Saturday because the game's on the Sunday. That's a bonus. I'm not sure how many bloods for a debut in a massive game. And it's getting that message across to everybody, isn't it? That's in that dressing room of what it means to the fans and what's expected. I think that's the big thing. But to blood people in a debut and give them a debut in a derby is going to be pretty intense thing to do. I think Tom Fellows, though, I think he'll come in. He's got championship experience. He knows what it's like to play at this level. Whether he changes formation, I think that's a big one, Martin. It'd be a good conversation to have because he's set up in a 3 at the back with the 5 with the wing backs. Yeah, I'm not convinced he'd make wholesale changes in such a big game. He'd probably go what's some of what's worked and tweak it. But I'm looking forward to seeing his adaptability if it doesn't quite work. And I think it's a sort of game that sometimes formation will go out the window. Personnel sometimes goes out the window. It's who wants it the most, who puts their body on the line, and it could. It's a proper cup final, isn't it? I can't wait. She cannot wait.
Can you call the starting 11, Andy? Can you?
I'm dreading it. I don't know.
No, we are.
How much you're looking forward to this?
We are. No, we're not. It's really weird, isn't it? Like you're either really looking forward to it, or you're just really nervous about the whole thing. And I think I'm in the latter, but that's just me. Can you call your starting lineup at the moment? Do you think there might be a few changes again? Like as I was saying, you've had the international break and obviously the transfer window. Have you got a pretty regular 11, or is it likely to be a little bit different for Sunday?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything wholesale at all. Other than just because it is Pompey Southampton, you could see Connor Chaplin coming in potentially, even if he's not quite 100% ready. I don't have no idea if he is or not. But outside of that, I mean, the back four I would imagine would be the same as it was last time out. So Nico Schmid in goal. So we play a 4-2-3-1 usually to start the game. Nico Schmid in goal. Zach Swanson, who was Arsenal youth player and then came to us a few years ago now at right back. Regan Poole, Connor Shaughnessy at centre backs, and then Connor Ogilvie at left back. You talked about wing backs getting forward a bit there. So there have been a couple of times where Swanson and Ogilvie have looked a little bit vulnerable when they've gone forward in terms of the wing backs getting in behind them in the last 12 months or so. Hopefully no one who's got any actual pulling weight at the club is hearing me say that. But then, yeah, I would imagine Swift and Dozzell will be centre mids with Bishop playing at 9. Murphy will start on the left. And then there's kind of a decision. At the moment, Segacic is starting at 10, which ideally would be where Chaplin would come in if he were going to start in a 4-2-3-1. If Chaplin doesn't come in, I imagine Segacic will be at 10 and Bianchini will be out on the right. If Chaplin is fit to play at 10, then Segacic could get pushed out onto the right-hand side and play as the right-hand side of it in the 3 attacking mids. And then, yeah, Bishop up top. But the majority of our danger comes from that sort of left attacking midfield and right attacking midfield. I suppose that's the nature of a 4-2-3-1, isn't it? Bishop does a lot of really good hold-up play. And it does partially come down to the referee as well. You see some referees that give Bishop quite a lot. He will try and get a lot of free kicks. When we lump it up, he's the only man up the field. He'll do a good job of bringing it down. Then he'll sort of and try and win the free kick, move us 30 yards up the pitch. It's not really a dive. There is contact, but you know what I mean. It's sort of a half foul. Some referees give a lot of them. Other referees give nothing over the 90 minutes, and you can normally tell in the first 5 if he's going to have a successful afternoon or not. But I'd imagine that would be the lineup. I think I don't know how many real sort of Saints, I don't know if the word legend is right, or the people who have been around the club for a long time you've got in that squad. But I think having Marlon Pack, who's out injured, but is a Pompey lad through and through, came in, captain the side to winning League One, and having Chaplin back in the side as well, or back in the squad as well, in terms of trying to drill what the atmosphere is going to be like, because it will be different to what most of these guys have experienced in League One and the Championship, and kind of the what it means cliche. I think having those two there could be an advantage, but I don't know if you've got people who give you a similar what you would see as an advantage.
It's a strange one, isn't it, Steve? Because you can imagine, Jack Stevens, for example, being up for this and then getting himself sent off in the first 20 minutes, or Taylor Harwood-Bellis, who just generally needs to just calm down a little bit. And obviously, if Flynn Downs starts, then he'll probably get a booking. So there's a few in the squad, but it's going to be about managing those emotions on the day, because you don't want to end up being a man down or have someone on a yellow card in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly got a few players who are capable of their sort of hot-headed moments. But also, in fairness, the vast majority of them have shown maturity at the kind of the hardest times. So getting through the playoffs 2 years ago all of those 3 that you named were flawless. So it's a different occasion, obviously. But I'm trying to think who would have been around the squad when we played in the Carabao Cup 6 years ago. I think it's only Stevens who would have been even there or thereabouts, and he certainly didn't play.
Gone, isn't it? He would have been.
Bednarek's gone. Even people like
Bertrand,
Cedric, Redmond. Good God, that was a decent side.
It was the last time we had a goal scorer. Let's be honest.
Danny Ings. Yeah, it's difficult, but then also at the same time, there's a lot of players there who I mean, it's a two-headed coin, isn't it? Because on one side you've got a lot of players who will have played in derby games elsewhere before, and let's be brutally honest. While for us, the Saints Pompey game is everything. It's no real different to any other derby, sort of proper derby in world football. People who see it from the outside see it as a real fierce one. And yes, I'm sure sort of in the stands it will be, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's even going to be the sort of. I mean, you see some kind of caricature derby games between Everton and Liverpool where you end up with like 3 players sent off for 2-footed lunges and stuff. I don't think there's going to be any of that happening because I just think players are too mature these days. There's very few who are sort of complete loose cannons. So whereas in the past we'd have had people like Mark Dennis for us, Pompey would have had Gavin Maguire back in the day, who obviously was an absolute lunatic, even when it came to playing in the bloody Masters five-a-side, trying to have a punch up with Matt Letizia in that, and it's
great days.
But these days players are very mature. As Andy said, there's not many that have sort of long-standing connections to the clubs that they're representing. I mean, Pompey have got a couple, but yeah, I don't think we've got. Well, obviously, Jay Robinson is local lad. Dibbling would have been, but obviously he's moved on now.
Smallbone as well has moved on.
Smallbone has gone as well. So yeah, the kind of Saints sort of supporting base within the squad has almost vanished, which I do actually kind of think gives you that objectivity, and actually that as a result you have a cooler head about yourself. And I mean that's obviously hopefully the way it plays out for us on Sunday. That the coolest heads are the ones that are able to kind of manage the situation, manage the emotions of not only themselves but others. And yeah, it's ultimately the players that we've got. It's down to them to kind of give us the sort of weekend and the 3 or 4 months sort of gloating that we're looking for, really.
And are you going to be at the game? I think we can probably all agree on the ticket prices were ridiculous, and the price of the coaches as well. We were doing the sums before we came on air. It's about like 60 quid before you start, isn't it? It is a bit of a nonsense for a game that's just a few miles up the road.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm coming down for it. So I'm based in Oxford, so getting to Pompey, I mean, my season ticket's a pain in the backside in the first place. So Southampton would actually be slightly closer, but the ticket was 40 quid and then 18 on a compulsory coach. So we have to get picked up from one of 3 locations to come. We only get given the ticket when we board the coach with ID, so we can't give our ticket to someone else. I don't know if you're going to have to jump through the same hoops at Fratton Park later this year. I'm getting their league enforced potentially. But
no,
it does seem like
police. It's the police sticking their oar in on this. And I find it maddening, given that if you think back to that Carabao Cup game in 2019, I mean, I'm sure, Andy, you don't want to think back to that Carabao Cup game in 2019. But obviously there was no bubble for that game because it was a cup match. The draw was only done at about 2 weeks' notice, so they didn't have time to organise it. And, oh, look, there was no trouble. It was absolutely fine. And yet we're going through all this nonsense that's probably going to cost us both clubs £500,000 for each game. And for what? I don't think it needs the kind of build up that it's got. And ultimately actually kind of keeping everyone as segregated as they do. I mean, surely that just kind of generates more sort of intensity to everything.
It does feel a bit dated, doesn't it, Andy? It feels a bit of a throwback doing all this kind of stuff, and I assume you all feel the same.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of similar. I mean, what's that YouTube doco that's sort of sitting around was it Copper, whatever it is, one where they closed down the M27 or whatever motorway it was, and it's like, yeah, I mean, let's be completely honest. There are going to be morons in our fan base. There are going to be morons in your fan base. That just is the nature of football and, the general population. But I think by doing this whole segregation thing, whilst I understand the logic behind it, that to a certain extent, I mean, I'd like to say you just got to trust people not to be idiots. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's
every
the problem,
single
isn't it?
yeah, it's a big statement to trust people not to be idiots. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect, to be honest with you, in terms of the sort of the fan experience from our side. It's going to be something a bit different for the majority of us. Obviously, the Fratton game a few years ago, which I'm quite happy to remember. It's fine. There were no expectations from our side in that 2 league difference. Life comes at you fast. So there were no real expectations from us on that one. And even that, you had helicopters flying around. You had police vans end to end between Fratton Station and Fratton Park to try and separate the road in half. And as far as I know, there were no real. I didn't see any flashpoints at all around the stadium, and that was it was dark when the game finished, and we had, as far as I know, no issues at all. I didn't hear about anything afterwards after the game. So yeah, I mean, maybe your fans would have been in a slightly bit worse mood if you'd been turned over by a League One club. I don't know, but
there's always the if, isn't there? Yeah, it's you never kind of you can't legislate for that. But yeah, it does leave a bit of a sour taste. That's the only thing. But I guess they're doing it for all the right reasons. Martin, just your final thoughts on this one. How do you see it go? We kind of talked ourselves into it being quite an entertaining game, but history would suggest that it could go either way.
Yeah, I don't think it'd been an entertaining game. I just think you get these games that get so hyped up, and everything in England just becomes so much more hyped than anywhere else, and it just gets amplified. I just think there's become so much pressure on sort of like within the fan base, and it's like we're a little bit fragile actually as well as a fan base after what happened last season. So I think whoever takes first blood, as they say in football, and whoever scores that first goal, goals change games inevitably, and it just. Who gets the first goal and when that comes and how long it takes, then that will play a big part in the game, because longer it goes, more tense it becomes. It becomes a bit of a chess match, doesn't it? Side to side, you're trying to probe, trying to find ways to break the opposition down. So I do think it'd be a cagey game. I don't see there being tons of goals in it. We haven't exactly been free flowing in front of goal. Probably have had a decent start, let's be honest. I think Messina, I've got to say to him, he's a fantastic manager. I think he's done a really good job there. Here, having well set, well coached, well drilled. I think Steele will as well. I like him a lot. I just think it will be a cagey game, and it'd just be all about that first goal. When does that come? And hopefully it come early and open the game up, and it'd be a bit more of a spectacle. But generally, I've always get excited for these games. I go and watch them, and they disappoint because they're just not very good games.
Andy, I'm going to let you go, but before I do, I'm going to ask you for a score prediction for the game. How do you see it playing out?
I mean, yeah, good question. We're hoping. Is Gavin Bazunu likely to be starting?
Yes.
Excellent. So we're hoping Agent Bazunu does us a bit of a favour. We felt like he was a bit of an undercover operator at times last season. So hopefully does that for us early doors. To be completely honest, I'll snap your hand off for a draw. Absolutely snap your hand off. I think the away fixture in a derby like this, especially when it's the first one for a while, I mean, I don't know what you'll be thinking when you come down to Fratton Park. I guess it will depend on how our seasons have gone between now and then. But I'll predict optimistically a 1-1 draw. And I think the majority of Pompey fans would take that. But I'm dreading it. I'm not going to enjoy a single minute of the game unless, we've got a 7-goal cushion. I mean, when we were sort of 5-1 up against Norwich, I was still, because it was such a big thing to, we stay up if we win this by 4 goals. I was still terrified. 4-goal cushion with 10 minutes to go or 15 minutes to go. So
we've all been there. We've all been there.
It's not going to be enjoyable. But
are you podcasting after the game? Have you got a pod on Sunday?
We just record Wednesdays. So unless there's a need for an absolute emergency one, which I wouldn't want to tempt. I mean,
there's 2 scenarios where that pans out, isn't there?
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, and there's only one scenario in which case that I'll be offering to return as a guest after the game. So you may or may not see me again before January.
Well, hopefully we'll catch up in January, Andy, and I just hope that everyone enjoys the game on Sunday. So thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. Play up Pompey. Cheers.
Nice one. Thanks, Andy. Right, so let's do some score predictions then. So in our little predictions league, which we do, last time, 26 people correctly predicted the score, of which 26 people correctly predicted the draw, of which 8 got the correct score. That was the Watford game. If you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login. You'll find the leaderboard and how to play on the website. Just head to totalsaints.co.uk. Going to ask Steve Steve, and I'm going to ask Martin for their score predictions in just a moment. But first, here's how some of you think we might do on Sunday.
Hi all, my name's Jeff Roberts. I am predicting a 4-0 win. I shall be watching from my local chippy because I like my skate battered. Come on, you Saints.
Morning guys, it's James here. I'm going for a 3-2 Saints win, an end-to-end classic, but our quality coming through. Come on, you Saints.
Hey guys, Brian here in New York. Really looking forward to this game. Can't wait to see the South Coast Derby back. Score prediction, I think they'll be up for it, but I think we'll put a few past them. So I'm going to go 3-1 Saints. Don't see us keeping a clean sheet, but looking forward to getting a good win to jumpstart the season. Come on, you Reds!
Hi, my name's Willima. I'm going to be watching the match from Leeds, and my prediction is going to be 5-4 to Saints. Come on, you Reds!
I would absolutely be amazed if we get a 5-4 win, but you never know.
There will be heart attacks.
We'll be doing an emergency pod on the way home, if
Lord.
that's the case. I'm going to ask you both for your score predictions. Steve, it's such a tough one to call, isn't it? This.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm kind of the sort of person who can kind of take sort of elements of a game and a performance and sort of look at sort of take the positive from little bits and pieces of how we might progress moving forwards. But this game is all about result. It really does not matter how we play. If the ball goes in off Damien Downs' arse in the 95th minute and we win 1-0, I could not give a shit. Any win is what we need. And I think we will get it. I don't think we'll make it easy on ourselves, but I think we will ultimately run out 3-1 winners.
It's where heroes are made. Martin, what do you reckon? Who's going to step up on Sunday?
Oh, I think we'll win it. I do think we'll win it. I do think it'd be tight. I'm a bit along with Steve, really. I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Saints. I think a few people have mentioned in the chat. I've been reading the chat. There's been some good comments about Gavin Bazunu. I think it's a big one for him. Really big game. Took a little bit of criticism after the Watford game, and he started the season okay. And obviously, he played there for a long period of time, so there'll be a lot of focus on him. He needs a really good game, but I do think we'll edge it. And I do fancy Ryan Fraser to net. I've been so impressed with him. And Damien Downs to get off to a good start as well and score a goal for us. So, yeah, I'm going with those two to score.
Let's hope so. I just want to finish with a couple of bits on the transfer window. Obviously, that closed on, well, it was supposed to be 5 o'clock on Monday, wasn't it? But I think there was still work going on into the early hours of the evening. It was a busy window. I'm sure you've seen the stat that was doing the rounds today, a £62 million net spend. Martin, you weren't with us last week when the window closed. So your thoughts on the window and how it's gone and the additions that came in?
Yeah, I thought Johannes had a big job on his hands, really. The squad was bloated, a massive hangover from last season. So there's a lot of players who need to get out the door, a lot of players that didn't want to be with us. There's probably still 2 in the door that maybe don't still want to be there. Joe Aribo and Sam Edozie not really been a part of things. They could still move on with some of the European windows still open. But I think generally, it's been decent. I thought that Frenzy Friday, as I called it, I thought was quite incredible, really. Started with Mateus going out the door. We all expected him to go, didn't we? I don't think the way it ended was probably not what everybody wanted, with the reports of him potentially being at a training ground, though there's never been any images leaked of that moment. But yeah, it started with that, and then Finn Azaz coming. I think he's a brilliant bit of business. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he can do. I was quite impressed with him at Watford in glimpses. I think he'd be a really good addition. He'd play the 10 well. The signing of Fellows excites me the most out of everybody. I think he'd be a really, really good signing for us. And there's a lot of talk around Kasper Yander being a top talent. Again, young, come from Germany. We brought a few from Germany, haven't we? Which is quite interesting. And then that final one, Leo Senza. He looks like an interesting character and player. Looks a little bit more experienced than maybe some of the younger players. He's played a bit. He was a late bloomer, wasn't he? By the looks of things, and I've seen some clips of him, and he looks a good player. So the 2 wide men was really important for me, was to be able to give Will that option to be able to stretch the pitch and play and play to the touchline a bit more, which he hasn't really been able to do because of personnel. But I think all in all, I think good window. Good luck to Breezy going out to Charlton. Wish him all the best. He's a great lad, isn't he? And can potentially bring him back if things don't work out there.
Could be back in January. Is that right? That seems like a a no-brainer, really. If we need the cover in January, then we've got the option of bringing him back.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a good move. I think Charlie Taylor's is for the season, which I expected. But obviously, we've made additions at right back and at full back, and for whatever reason, it doesn't quite work. We've got the option to bring him back, which I think is brilliant, because we know he can play at championship level. He's a great lad. I think he was loved around the dressing room as well. I'm missing him in the training clips because like the lads always had a bit of banter with him, and he's like a really good character around the squad. So yeah, I wish him all the best. And he links up with Nathan Jones.
Who'd have thought? Can you see, Steve, a scenario where Sam Edozie and Joe Aribo don't go? As Martin said, there are, the other windows around Europe. Some of them are still open, so there could be potential loan deals or moves abroad for those two. But equally, could you see them staying and doing a job?
I can certainly see them staying. I don't know whether. I mean, I would imagine Will Still would take a fairly pragmatic approach and say, "Well, you're here, and we're paying you, so let's see what you've got." But I also kind of imagine that the reason why those two are in the situation they're in now is because what he saw at the very start of pre-season, perhaps he wasn't overly keen on. So yeah, I mean, you've got that difficult situation now where the window is shut in most places, but the number of escape options for these players kind of shrinks on a daily basis now for the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, to the point where their only option will potentially be Saudi Arabia, which would be nice and lucrative for them, but potentially not the highest standard of football, if that's what they're after. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Joe Aribo showed, in fact, both of them showed that they can certainly do a job in this division 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean, if they're still here, and I mean, there is room for them in the 25-man squad.
And it looks like they're back training with the first team. I know we're only going on pictures that we saw on social media, but it looks like if they were training away, then they are now back training with the first team.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to remember we've got 7 or 8 players away on international duty, so there's obviously gaps on the training ground to fill for sort of small-sided games and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know whether that's right, they're back, so let's reintegrate them situation, or whether it's just a sort of making up the numbers thing, and both of them are still looking to kind of find a way out. But as I say, we've got that 25-man squad. There are 2 spaces in it, which those 2 can fill. So it's not like if we don't sort moves for them in the next couple of weeks, then they're basically stuck in limbo for 4 months until the January window opens. They can come into the squad and make an impact if the manager sees fit.
And we did a little poll in the Patreon's WhatsApp group. The window was given a solid 8 out of 10. Does it feel, Steve, now that he's got the tools for the job? Now there aren't any excuses, so it's over to Will Still now. We've given you all the players you need. Now crack on.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think the players that we all thought probably weren't suited to the system and the style that the new manager was going to play have mostly gone. He's been able to bring in 9 new signings. I mean, George Long realistically isn't going to play a minute, but
no.
Obviously allows the young lad to go and actually play under 21 football without having to put crosses in pre-match warm-ups. But yes, I think you're now in that situation where there shouldn't be any excuses. We've got a pretty deep squad now. As I say, the 25-man squad will be filled with Aribo and Edozie if they stay, plus I think 4 or 5 under 21 players. So yeah, the squad is deep. There's not a big drop off in quality in any one particular position, I don't think. I mean, everybody's kind of opinions on our centre forward stocks aside, I guess. But we've got the right profiles now in terms of the playing attributes. We've got pace, we've got creativity, we've got strength, we've got a little bit of height as well. So yeah, I mean, barring an absolutely ridiculous run of injuries, at some point in the next 2 to 3 months, then yeah, there should be no excuses. And yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be kind of gradually edging our way up the table.
And are you expecting, Martin, just quickly, to see a kind of a real settled 11 now going forward? Do you think we'll start to see that?
Yeah, I think he needs to. I think he needs to settle it down. And I think it just helps everybody, doesn't it? Sort of once everybody knows the system we're going to play and the way he wants to go about things. Yeah, I think it will make it, having the players that he needed. There was just personnel that he really needed that he was missing. That the wide men was real big. I still think he needs to find somebody that's going to score the goals. I think it looks like it's going to be Cameron Archer at this moment in time. Damien Downs will settle and he will come good. A lot of people question him, but he just needs time. You know, it's hard because there's not time in football, is there? Certainly when you're trying to get promoted back to the Premier League. But Cameron Archer, I thought, looked lively for the first 45 minutes at Watford. If he could just keep that run going and keep scoring goals, it's all about repetition and confidence. I think as a striker, it's really, really important. I think Charles has just started to come into his own. I think he will get better. I think everybody will get better. I think he's a good coach still. We've got to remember, he took on a huge job. The turnover of players, we only won 2 games last season. But I think they've equipped him, and Johannes and the board have equipped him with a really good squad of players. And when you look at what anyone else has got in the Championship, with the second biggest spenders this summer, but behind Ipswich, spent a lot of money. And it's we should be well set up to be challenging for the top 2 without any question. And that should absolutely be the aim, is to be within the top 2.
And of course, if he gets a win on Sunday, then he's a legend.
Absolutely, and anyone that scores as well, Martin. You score in that game, you're a legend. You're remembered forever. I spoke to Marion Pahars about it. That goal that he scored really late in his time at Saints.
Yeah,
I just remember him for that. There's 2 goals that really stand out for me. That one against Derby, but that one against Portsmouth, it was an absolute beauty. And you will go down in history. There's a big chances for players.
Do we see that picture of James Beattie with his hand up to his ear, or Danny Ings doing the knee slide? They always come around, don't they? So yeah, who knows? Who knows who we're going to be talking about after Sunday? Steve, just on the women's game as well. It was their first game today in the it's the WSL2 they're calling it now, aren't they? Great start though against Ipswich. Didn't see that one coming today.
No, I think everybody kind of had a bit of a downer on the women's team because last season they slumped, and it was after a half decent start they were pretty bang average at best, and having lost what most would consider probably three, maybe 4 of our best players, 2 of which to Ipswich as a newly promoted team. You kind of had a little bit of a concern that, well, we possibly looking at being in a bit of a relegation fight here. But fair play. They started fast, and Ipswich couldn't deal with them. 3 up inside the first half. Could have been 2 or 3 more. Second half was a little bit more of a sort of non-event, really, where gave a few players their debuts, but it all kind of petered out a little bit the last 20, 25 minutes or so. But the hard work had been done, so you kind of earn the right to play that way. So yeah, great start. I see Birmingham beat Bristol City 5-1.
Yeah, we weren't top for long, were we? I don't think.
Yeah, they're going to be. I mean, they've spent big, as you would expect them to. Obviously, Newcastle have spent a bit of money as well. They won at Forest. So yeah, I think
Portsmouth lost.
Yeah, Pompey lost at home to Durham, which is obviously always fine. So yeah, I think solid start. We've got Palace away next week. That'll be a very good barometer of where we are. Palace obviously fresh from relegation and lost at Charlton today. So wonder if they're possibly going to have a bit of a slow start, and we can take advantage of that.
Happy days. Nice one. Thank you, Steve. I know you're off to the England game, aren't you? So yeah, enjoy that.
Yeah. Christ, yeah. I mean,
Stay safe.
It cannot be as bad as it was on Saturday.
That's true. Enjoy that one, Steve. Thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks, Martin, as well. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Are you going to be out and about with your microphone on Sunday?
Yeah, we're going to create some content. Definitely for a match day vlog, just getting inside. There's a lot of people overseas that don't have an opportunity to see it through our eyes. So I just try and capture as much as I can from the day. But obviously, the focus, you really want to enjoy the game and all the focus behind the games. It'd be hard to film too much, but I definitely before and after and get the feeling in the fan base and try and share it with those overseas and far away.
There you go. Look out for Martin in his microphone. Cheers for coming on. Thank you to you both. You can follow the Total Saints podcast on all the social media platforms. It's at Total Saints Pod. You can also check out the TSP merch store as well. It's shop.totalsaints.co.uk. And as mentioned earlier, we're also on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contribution. You just head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. Now, each of those tiers comes with their own perks, including some weekly shout outs for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, David Mansell and Dave Benham in the Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock and Andy, who are all in our Mick Shannon tier. A massive thank you as well to Paul Castle Associates and Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we'll see you next time.